Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're all doing really well. My name's Larry, and welcome to my channel again. And today I'll be discussing my favorite movies of 2025. And to start off with my 10, I'm going to pull it up on my letterbox, which you should definitely follow. As someone who grew up with the Fox Fantastic Four movies, this movie gave me ultimately everything I would have wanted in a new comic book age of Fantastic Four. It was futuristic, it felt like to me a love letter to the comics. I love Ben Grimm, the Thing. I don't know, I've always loved that character. Even from the original Fox films. I've always favored him out of everybody in the group. I definitely felt very entertained by it, and hopefully we see more of them in the next Marvel movies or something. I generally am a fan of James Gunn movies. I love all three of the Guardians movies, and I'm also a huge fan of the Suicide Squad that he made not too long ago. I think it was 2021, and this Superman movie was pretty awesome. I liked it. As someone who was a fan of Snyder's DC films, I generally enjoyed watching this and being able to take in this new world that James Gunn has created for the world of heroes and Superman and DC in general. And yeah, it was thoroughly a really good movie, and I cannot wait to see more of where the story takes it. I know we're supposed to be getting a Superman sequel soon. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my tongue, but I know it's coming soon, and James Gunn is set to direct it, and I'm so excited. I'll be there in the movie theater. No Other Choice. No Other Choice is a Park Chan-wook film that recently came out late last year, and I put this on my list just recently because I got around to watching it a few weeks back, and I could not feel a lot more sort of relatable towards the way the main character is going through, because the story inhabits this guy who loses his job and generally wants to get back on track because there's a lot of pressure mounting on him. He's a family man, but he's also a renowned working man, and he just goes into this sort of ecstatic action to take matters into his own hands. It's a dark comedy, but it's really, really funny, really insightful, and it hits a lot of really good points about capitalism in the working world, and even just how you feel when you work yourself for most of your life. You kind of miss out on the little things. The movie kind of plays into that sort of part. As someone who grew up watching the G.I. Joe movies with him, and then seeing him in Squid Game on Netflix, it was really interesting to see him play a bit of a pathetic but likable guy in a sense. It was really intriguing to watch that, and he knocked it right out of the park. This movie scared the shit out of me. I don't know if it was because of just the body horror that is possessed in the film, or just the way they handle a lot of the themes surrounding, trauma and the symbolic feeling of grieving someone, and just the horror that comes with seeing grief play out. But also it's just really uncomfortable to watch at times. And the Raka brothers just knocked it out of the park. I generally trust them now to just make anything that's horror-wise, because they got it. They're 2 for 2 in the horror films, and I'm looking forward to the next film they make, down the road. I didn't grow up on the Naked Gun movies as a kid, but I grew up watching a lot of over-the-top comedy movies. I'm talking Anchorman and Zoolander, a lot of these type of over-the-top comedy flicks I grew up watching. And I feel like this movie brought that sort of sensation back to watching it, where you can't stop laughing. It's stupid, but it's stupidly clever is what I would describe it. And Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson are straight up comedy gold together. I feel like Leslie Nielsen would be super proud of just the way this movie came out. And I felt like I just couldn't stop laughing. I think it's the most I've laughed in a movie in some time. And that's saying something. We don't really get a lot of worldwide release comedy movies as we did back in the early 2000s and the 2010s. It kind of slimmed down, over the course of this past decade. But seeing that this movie came out and how it was just regardlessly really, really funny, that gives me hope that we'll see a lot more worldwide releases on comedy films soon. I wasn't sure what to expect going into watching this movie, but I generally enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And it's not even just because, there's a really top tier cast in this movie. I just ultimately enjoyed the idea of this child who is the child of his parents, and these parents being, part of this militia revolution, and this general that they faced years ago is after them, and she's having to literally, fend for herself. But also you have DiCaprio's character, who's her father. I do think that it's up for debate how they handle a lot of their black characters, but I generally still thought the story was ultimately solid. And yeah, something about that last third act definitely sat with me for a good while. And yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out. If you're a PTA fan or if you're a fan of DiCaprio, I would definitely check it out when you can. Long Walk is a movie that has stuck with me since I first seen it. And it's not just because, the film is heavily emotional. I just felt very drawn to these guys, these men, these young men in the story because, I feel like as someone who's never read the book, this movie made me want to read the book. Literally want me to go back and read the actual source material, immediately. And I feel like the source material probably make the story even more authentic, but also it's just really captivating and heart-wrenching to really sit through. And I feel like when a movie can get you to that point of feeling so many emotional like roller coasters, in your veins and your body, you kind of, embrace it, and you're just like, wow, this really moved me. And that definitely what it did for me. It moved me entirely. I wasn't sure if I was even going to like this movie. I don't know. I just didn't feel like it was definitely for me, but having watched it recently and having watched it so many times, I can honestly say without a doubt that this movie is ultimately incredible. Every viewing I've seen this movie like 4 times. It gets better with every viewing. Like there's certain details and ideas and things that like I pick up on screen, and even just like the music is amazing and it looks incredible. Like so many flourishing colors and visuals on the screen, and I definitely highly recommend it to watch it. On Netflix. It's definitely one of the best. I was sorely obsessed with this movie's marketing. It's very eerie, very creepy, and I wasn't really sure what to make of the plot. And I'm like, usually when a horror film does this, I am completely engaged. I don't even need to see a trailer. But somehow, having not seen that many trailers and only seen one trailer, I was thoroughly surprised. I love this movie. I think it is potentially one of the best missing persons stories in a film I've seen in a while. It may just be up there with Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve. I may have butchered your name. Sorry, Denny. But I generally loved this movie all the way through. Amazing cast. And that third act, and even just the twist that happens towards the end, it was splendid. I couldn't have been more satisfied watching it. It's a very eerie ending, but it definitely had me thinking, afterward. I was thinking about it after I finished watching it. It had to be. I've seen this movie over 5 times. Seen it twice in theaters, and I've seen it 3 times at home. This movie is literally the gift that keeps on giving. There's so much nuance and energy and love and care put into ultimately everything in this project. I could go on and on about how I am literally so impressed at how much went into the technical aspects of this film. Specifically with the music intertwined with the cinematography. It was just something about how the film tells the story, but also how you follow so many of these characters. And Michael B. Jordan, and Ryan Coogler, they're just the best duo to do it nowadays. I feel like we could definitely see more of these two working together for more than so many more years. And I definitely welcome it, and I definitely want to see it. And I also heard recently that this film got nominated for a lot of Oscars, and I think it's definitely well deserved. This film is damn near a masterpiece, and I don't have any flaws with this movie at all. Having seen it so many times, I don't have any issues with it whatsoever. I think everything that happens in the story that unfolds definitely feels earned, but also I feel like audiences watching it definitely get a kick out of just the terror and just the feeling of so much tension and also suspense that carries on from the beginning to the very end. Yeah, that concludes my top favorite movies of 2025. If you like this video, be sure to comment, like, subscribe. Yeah, see you on the next one. All right.